have a seat. Morning, guys. Over the past few weeks, I've announced key members of my economic team who are now crafting a 21st century economic recovery plan that will create 2.5 million jobs. But as I said throughout the campaign, what will be just as important to our long-term economic stability is a 21st century regulatory framework to ensure that a crisis like this can never happen again. Today, I'm pleased to announce two individuals who will be leading that effort. Mary Shapiro as the chairwoman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and Gary Gensler as the chairman of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. I'm also pleased to announce that Dan Tarullo will be bringing his years of expertise on regulatory and banking reform to the Federal Reserve Board as one of its new governors. In the last few days, the alleged scandal at Madoff Investment Securities has reminded us yet again of how badly reform is needed when it comes to the rules and regulations that govern our markets. Charities that invested in Madoff could end up losing savings on which millions depend. A massive fraud that was made possible in part because the regulators who were assigned to oversee Wall Street dropped the ball. And if the financial crisis has taught us anything, it's that this failure of oversight and accountability doesn't just harm individuals involved. It has the potential to devastate our entire economy, and that's a failure we can't afford. Financial regulatory reform will be one of the top legislative priorities of my administration, and as a symbol of how important I view this reform, I'm announcing these appointments months earlier than previous administrations have. These individuals will help put in place new, common-sense rules of the road that will protect investors, consumers, and our entire economy from fraud and manipulation by an irresponsible few. These rules will reward the industriousness and entrepreneurial spirit that's always been the engine of our prosperity and crack down on the culture of greed and scheming that's led us to this day of reckoning. Instead of allowing interests to put their thumbs on the economic scales and CEOs run off with excessive golden parachutes, we're going to ensure openness, accountability, and transparency in our markets so that people can trust the value of the financial product they're buying. And instead of appointing people with disdain for regulation, I will ensure that our regulatory agencies are led by individuals who are ready and willing to enforce the law. These are precisely the reasons why I chose the outstanding public servants who are with me today. Mary Shapiro currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, the largest regulator for all securities firms that do business with the United States. Before that, she served as an SEC commissioner and as chairwoman of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Mary is known as a regulator who's both smart and tough, so much so that she's been criticized by the same industry insiders who we need to get tough on. For years, she's used her position to educate investors about market risks, warn seniors and employers about retirement scams, and call for increased regulation of mortgage brokers long before the current housing crisis hit. I know that Mary will provide the new ideas, new reforms, and new spirit of accountability that the SEC desperately needs so that fraud like the Madoff scandal doesn't happen again. To chair the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, I've chosen Gary Gensler, who brings a wealth of expertise from both the public and private sectors to this position. In addition to serving as Undersecretary of Treasury during the Clinton administration and as a senior advisor to the Senate Banking Committee, Gary also gained a deep knowledge of our financial institutions during his decade as a partner at Goldman Sachs. As the new chairman of a commission charged with regulating some of the unsound practices and excessive leverage that helped cause this crisis, I know he will restore sound judgment and strict oversight to our markets. Along with Mary, Treasury Secretary-designee Tim Geithner and others, Gary will also serve as a key member of the team that will reform our outdated financial regulations. I'm also announcing Dan Tarullo, one of my trusted economic advisors, as a new governor of the Federal Reserve Board. The Federal Reserve's monetary policy function will continue to be critical in navigating us through these trying economic times. But as many of you know, the Federal Reserve also serves as a vital regulator. Dan will bring a lifetime experience to the Fed in economic policy and financial regulation. A professor of law at Georgetown, Dan previously served as a senior economic advisor in the Clinton administration, where he coordinated international economic policy and served as President Clinton's personal representative to multiple G8 summits. His academic and policy work on financial regulation has anticipated some of the problems we've observed, and he has generated important ideas for how we should move forward. I have no doubt that his knowledge, experience, and independence will make him a valuable addition to the Federal Reserve at this critical time. For over 2 centuries, our market has created a prosperity that is the envy of the world and rewarded the innovators and risk-takers who made America a beacon of science, technology, and discovery. But the American economy has worked in large part because we've guided the market's invisible hand with a higher principle, that America prospers when all Americans can prosper. That principle is why we put in place common-sense rules of the road to regulate our market. And it's why we need to restore and renew those rules today, so that every American, from Wall Street to Main Street, can have the chance to prosper once more. I have great faith and confidence in the ability of the team I've announced to make this possible. And with that, I'd like Mary to step up and say a few words.
Thank you so much, Mr. President-elect. I'm honored and humbled to be considered for this position. As the events of the past year, even the past week, have shown us, this is a perilous time for investors. Americans are looking to policymakers and regulators to restore stability and trust to our financial markets. As someone who has spent my entire career focused on investor protection, I'm looking forward to leading an agency, the Securities and Exchange Commission, whose mission is so critical to the future economic health of our country. Obviously, there is much work to be done there, and I'm committed to leading an agency whose primary mission must always be to protect investors. But as you have said, Mr. President-elect, the current financial market crisis requires an aggressive, systemic response. Modernizing America's financial regulatory system demands that federal agencies work collaboratively, aggressively, and creatively to meet head-on the realities of today's complex marketplace. I look forward to working with Tim Geithner, Larry Summers, Paul Volcker, Gary Gensler, and Dan Tarullo, and the rest of the economic team to help you put in place a regulatory structure that protects all investors. Investor trust is the lifeblood of our financial markets. The only way to restore the trust that has been lost is through effective, thoughtful reform of our regulatory structure and the consistent and robust enforcement of our financial regulations, and this will be my top priority. In closing, I'd like to thank my husband, Chas, and my 2 daughters, Molly and Anna, for the support and strength they give me every day. I truly believe there is no higher calling than public service, and I'm proud to be able to serve investors, my country, and our new president in the days ahead. Thank you.
I wish to thank you, President-elect Obama, Vice President-elect Biden, for this great honor to serve our nation as Chairman of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. Subject to Senate confirmation, I'm thrilled to join the great economic team the President-elect is assembling. In these times of significant challenges, the work we do together to restore our economy and reform the financial system is of such importance. And I'm honored not only to serve as CFTC chair, but to have been asked to play a senior role, along with Mary and others, to help reform our regulatory system. The CFTC plays an essential role in our financial system, promoting and ensuring integrity of markets and protecting the public from fraud and manipulation. The trading of futures and options helps reduce risk and promote growth for farmers and in the commodities sector. It helps make mortgages and credit more available for homeowners and businesses. On a personal note, I want to thank my 3 daughters, Anna, Lee, and Isabel, for all their love and support. No doubt they will sacrifice much to allow me to serve and take this honor once again. I only wish that their mom, Francesca, could be here with us today. I know that she would have really been excited to meet you, sir, and the honor to see this country led by you. Once again, I look forward to working with the President-elect and the great economic team he's assembled in the future, helping the American people.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect, for the confidence you've shown in me by announcing your intent to nominate me to serve on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. As we're all aware, our country faces financial and economic challenges of a greater magnitude than we've seen for decades. The Federal Reserve Board is, of course, the nation's central bank with responsibility for setting monetary policy, but as you noted, it also plays key roles in responding to the current economic situation and in financial regulation. If confirmed by the Senate, I look forward to working with Chairman Bernanke, the other members of the board and the Open Market Committee, and the outstanding staff at the Federal Reserve in helping to steer the economy through these difficult times, and in adjusting regulatory and supervisory practices so as to maintain a stable and efficient financial system.